I created Keto Chow because I'm an engineer, I'm a computer guy,
Yeah.
and I'm relentlessly optimizing to make things easier because I'm lazy. We have a daughter who uses the analogy of having a certain number of spoons
Yeah.
to do things each day. And when you are out of spoons, you're out of spoons. Sometimes I just don't have the spoons to smoke a brisket or to cook something amazing. And other times I do. I like to save that mental wherewithal for things that are important and to not have to concentrate so much on the dumb stuff. I am at work. I just need breakfast. I just need nutrition. So I created this recipe for a complete meal that just happens to look like a shake.
Would you like to learn more about the topics that were discussed today? Join us at radicallyhealthy.com, where we're combining lifestyle with other tools to add to our toolbox. We have many offerings, from a free community to a private community and even one-on-one support. Hope to see you there. Hello, everyone. Welcome to today. This is part 2 of my interview with Chris and Miriam of Keto Chow. And why I wanted to bring them to you guys is because they have 2 different solutions that can really help you on your health and wellness and GLP-1 journey. And today I want to talk about their protein powders, because I think that they stand out of the crowd. And I would love for them to explain why they're different and why they're amazing and delicious and wonderful, and how maybe we could include this in your guys' plan to ensure not only are you getting joy, but you're getting your protein in. So welcome back,
I
you
even wore the
guys.
right shirt for today.
Yeah, good job.
Today's episode is brought to you by my favorite protein powder, Keto Chow. Unlike your typical protein powders, Keto Chow is a complete meal with bioavailable nutrients. It includes electrolytes, minerals, and vitamins. It's formulated with bioavailable nutrients versus synthetic, cheap nutrients. It's easily digestible, even with a compromised gut. There's no soy, gluten, and Keto Chow is customizable to your goal. You get to pick the fat. Do you want cream, butter? What do you want? Or do you just want water to be a PSMF day? Keto Chow is perfect for GLP-1 users, ketos, and carnivores. It's a smooth texture with no chalky aftertaste. And they have the best flavors in the market. They are rich and indulgent, just amazing. They have multiple sweetener options for you to choose from. There is a dairy option and a dairy-free option as a beef base, which you can get flavors that are both sweetened and unsweetened. So many options depending on where you're at in your journey. I personally use it in shakes, soups, breads, and more. It's a great way to just add protein, whether you want to do that every day, have a treat, or whether you are working on your GLP-1 titration. So give Keto Chow a try today. Use the link in my description to save 10% off your first order. I hope you enjoy this episode.
I did it.
We didn't even mean to plan that, but you did wear the salty last time you got the Keto Chow this time.
It's true. So I'm glad that we got to come back.
Thinking ahead. Well, let me just tell you, when you go to the grocery store and you get a protein powder, it's typically just protein. It'll have some lecithin in it, probably to help with the mixing. It'll have sweetener, it'll have flavor. But for the most part, it's just a protein. Yeah.
Which, if all you need is protein, you just need to supplement protein. That's great. But a lot of things will say that it's a meal replacement shake.
Mm.
It's not. It's a protein snack, which again is what it is. Ours is different in that it's designed to be a complete meal. Like, this is breakfast, this is lunch, this is breakfast, and then another one for lunch. So a lot of people will look at Keto Chow and they're like, it's just a protein shake. And it's like, well, if I created Keto Chow because I'm an engineer, I'm a computer guy, and I'm relentlessly optimizing to make things easier because I'm lazy.
Me too.
So I just, right? Why do more effort than is necessary? And so a lot of times I don't have we have a daughter who uses the analogy of having a certain number of spoons to do things. And when you are out of spoons, you're out of spoons. And sometimes I just don't have the spoons to smoke a brisket or to, cook something amazing. And other times I do. I like to save that mental wherewithal for things that are important and to not have to concentrate so much on the dumb stuff. Like, I am at work, I just need breakfast, I just need nutrition. I don't want to do some elaborate thing. So I created this recipe for a complete meal that just happens to look like a shake. It tastes like melted ice cream, which isn't bad, and you can do it for as many meals in a row as you personally deem necessary.
Right.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say something else about Keto Chow is that it's customizable. We did not put fat into Keto Chow so that you can put in how much fat you would like.
And also, we call it Keto Chow because it was originally developed for people doing a ketogenic diet, but there's nothing intrinsic to it that prevents it from being used by people that are doing whatever nutrition regimen that they want. It's just protein with all of the vitamins and minerals necessary for human life,
and electrolytes,
and in the forms that are most appropriate for human beings. For instance, we are not using vitamin D2. We're using vitamin D3. We're not using folic acid. We're using 5-methyl tetrahydrofolate,
which is folic. It's
folate.
Folate that has been methylated already, because we know that there are people out there that have an MTHFR gene mutation, and we're like, well, it's not that much more to change the folate to be this already methylated folate, so let's just put that in there just in case anybody has that gene mutation, and then they can have that as a benefit.
And a lot of times you'll see there will be criticisms of like vitamins, like multivitamins, and people will be like, well, multivitamins are pretty much useless because you don't absorb it. Well, that's because most multivitamins are designed to be as cheap as possible.
Yes, and so they have the ingredients in there that are right. They just don't have the most bioavailable ingredients there, and so sometimes you won't absorb all of them. And with the GLP-1 and even like a gastric bypass, you have limited amounts of food that you can eat. And so
you only have so many spoons.
You want to be able to get the most nutrient dense, most bioavailable. Sorry, I said that word. Bioavailable vitamins and minerals that you can, so that you can absorb and take as much as you can into your body.
Yeah. So that's where Keto Chow started. I just wanted something I could mix up. So I'm usually mixing it up with, if I'm in a pinch, I add some heavy cream to equal the amount of calories that I particularly need. Or if I've got the time, I will mix it up with melted butter. Literally this morning, we were out. And so before I went to work, I stopped for a minute and I mixed up 6 meals of Keto Chow, except I did it kind of weird. Miriam was talking about how it's customizable. Right now, Miriam and I are doing what's called, you could call it a protein-focused day, a pure protein day. The technical term is protein-sparing modified fast, where we are doing extremely low carbohydrate, a lot of protein, and actually a minimal amount of fat. So we're only doing about 30 grams of fat a day.
But we're only doing that a couple times a week. So we're using it as a tool. And Keto Chow is also a tool. So we mixed up Keto Chow a little bit differently this morning. So do you want to?
So I did a blender. We had a Vitamix, and I did a bunch of water, 3 servings of Keto Chow, 30 grams of MCT oil, which is a refined coconut oil. And then I added an extra 60 grams of egg white protein for the additional protein. You divide that in 3, and we've got 3 meals. It was about 7 minutes to do the 6 meals, just because I had to clean up our kids making dinner the night before and turn on the dishwasher. Not that I am bitter about that at all.
He just is a little bit bitter about that.
But it probably would have taken me about 5 minutes to do the 6 meals otherwise. And it's really nice to just, now I was able to go to work and grab those and go. And I don't have to worry about, because when you're doing something like a protein sparing modified fast, or you're dealing with trying to get the correct protein after a gastric bypass, and you're worried about being selenium deficient and things like that,
iron deficient,
you don't have to worry about that. That's why we made the actual meal replacement mix. And just, we say that it's a real meal. Back in 2019, in the before times, right? Just for fun and giggles, I actually did an experiment where I only ate Keto Chow for 100 days, for 298 consecutive meals. Miriam's done it where it's the only thing she ate for a month.
And it was just an experiment, right?
Yeah.
It was to see how well we did. We played around with different fats sometimes.
Yeah, like what's better, coconut oil, macadamia nut oil, avocado oil. By the way, butter's the best metabolically. We were getting a lot of blood tests and stuff like that to make sure that it wasn't being detrimental to our health, and that it was what we claimed it was. Who better to try something like this than the people in charge of the flavor and the nutrition? And I think that's something else that's really missing in a lot of those when you talk about a protein shake and stuff like that. The people who are manufacturing it, who are in charge of the product, I don't know that they're necessarily using their product like I'm using my product.
Yeah.
And my kids are using it. And, our daughter who's out of spoons, for her, she's able to just go down to the fridge, grab a Keto Chow, and it's fine.
Yep.
Our kids who don't do keto, they're able to grab them as well. One of our sons, I think he might be iron deficient. I don't know. If he does a Keto Chow a day,
he feels better.
He feels a lot better. And it's just because it's got that full spectrum of vitamins and minerals. Also, and I know that this is a major point for me, you can take the stuff and put it into a Ninja Creamy and make ice cream.
Yeah.
And I feel like adulting looks like eating a pint of ice cream for breakfast while you're in a meeting at work.
Yeah. Adrian, you mentioned on our salty video with you is that it's kind of nice to be able to have a treat. And I don't know if you want to speak to that same experience you had like with the cruise and having some sweetener and stuff too, again, or if we want to go back to that. But
one thing, so I don't do shakes because with the gastric bypass, we are skipping so much intestine that it's shooting too low in my intestine. It caused me blood sugar issues. So I don't do well with liquid calories at all. So what I do with you guys is I add it to Courtney Luna's bread, which is eggs and cottage cheese and pork rind crumbs. And it gives flavor and added protein and a little bit of sweetness. I also like to make the fudge, and that's what I bring to all the events. So everybody's getting protein fudge with their minerals. I love the Ninja Creamy ice cream idea. And I do actually, now that my stomach's been healing a lot and I've been having better blood sugar regulation, I've been able to have shakes. So this has been such a treat to be able to add this back to my life and have flavor and sweetness and protein and hit my protein goal at the same time. So I've absolutely been loving. What are some of the other popular recipes people use this with? I know, like some of your. Do you guys still have this? The savory flavors?
We have some savory flavors.
We used to have a bunch of savory flavors. The tomato and the taco didn't sell as well as this chicken soup.
The chicken soup is really great for baking.
And we also have one that's called the beef soup base, which is the same as the tomato that you have there, just without the tomato flavor. And it's the same as the taco. Those ones, they're cool because they don't have any sweetener added, and they have a lot of beef. It's actually powdered beef protein. But we have an insane amount of recipes on our website.
Yeah, we have so many.
And one of the cool things about so the Keto Chow itself, it has what's called acacia gum in it, which changes the characteristics of how the protein works. And a lot of people have found that random recipes that you find on the internet that call for a protein shake to be added, Keto Chow tends to work exceptionally well, sometimes even better, sometimes as well as like a flour will in those recipes.
Yeah.
But we have everything from, and if you go on our website, There's like a search function where you can,
Ooh, that egg roll in a bowl is a really good
that
recipe.
is really good.
I love
But
that
you can
one.
like filter it by
Available.
you can filter it by flavor. One of our favorite ones to do with the savory chicken soup is a drop biscuit recipe,
Yeah, it's really simple.
which you can use almond flour, or you can actually substitute pork panko.
Yeah. Or
Yeah.
you could do a little of both if you want it to be like
Mhm.
less greasy. Sometimes pork panko makes you have a greasier bread, but
Yeah.
I like it with pork rinds.
Yep. So there's a ton of recipes on our website. It's extremely versatile. I honestly though, I'm just so lazy. For me, making it into ice cream is just where it's at. I
I want to talk about the ice cream thing because so I've heard that these are better if we make them ahead of time and let them sit, or is that just the beef? So then that's another thing we should go into. You don't just have whey protein, you also have a beef protein line for people who are dairy free.
Yeah. So let's tackle mixing. Miriam, do you want to talk about that? Like how to mix up the shakes, how to mix up the ice cream?
Yeah. So, like you said earlier this morning, we did it different than we normally do, but we do it in a Vitamix blender because we do 3 at once. It's just easier and faster for us. But you can make them in the blender bottle, just shake it up, and it's super easy. But I like to do 3 at once because it blends a little bit better and cleaner. So I'll do the butter and do 3 scoops of Keto Chow and then mix it up. Sometimes we'll put gelatin in. That's another tip that we have. If you're doing Keto Chow and you have like sometimes if you have a little tummy ache or something like that,
sensitivity protein.
yeah, if you put a little gelatin in, it really helps with that. So that's interesting. If you put like a teaspoon of gelatin in 1 serving, then it like makes it a little bit thicker. It's just the shake. But then if you put 2 teaspoons, it's like a pudding. So you could make it into a pudding and eat it that way with gelatin. And then also, if you make the whole shake, but then you don't really want to eat it right then, you can just eat a little bit as a serving with on the side of your steak or whatever you're eating too.
Well, for a lot of people, their experience with a protein shake is just you mix it up and they get really nasty.
And they're like
after
chalky.
They're chalky. They have enzymes in most protein shakes to make them easier to digest.
Yes.
The problem is they start to digest themselves in the bottle,
which is why you have to drink it right away. But ours doesn't have those enzymes.
Yeah.
And it actually gets better over time. So if you put it in the fridge and you go to drink it tomorrow, it's going to taste better than it will today because it has time to let those like vitamins and stuff dissolve. The flavor comes out stronger. So it's really interesting.
If you mix it up and drink it right away, it's
still good. It's still good.
It just gets better.
Yeah.
And we usually recommend that people mix up at most 6 days worth at a time. So whatever that looks like for you, they do get better as they sit in the fridge until such time as like the protein starts to go weird, which is anywhere from 6 to 9 days, depending on if you're using heavy cream. For the ice cream, because it takes a while for it to freeze, me personally, I'm using warm water when I mix it up. I'll pour it right into the container. So the Ninja Creami, for anyone who doesn't know what we're talking about, if you have an ice cream maker, like a one that you freeze the bowl, you can use that with Keto Chow, and it typically works just fine. If you can go on something like Facebook Marketplace and buy someone's used Creami, or you just want to buy one outright, the Ninja Creami makes amazing ice cream.
Smooth.
And so it has these 1 pint bowls. If you get the original, which we just have the original, and then we bought like 15 or 20 of the pint containers off Amazon.
And you could eat half too. You don't have to eat the whole thing.
So you have these pint containers and you just pour the Keto Chow into there and then stick it in the freezer. And then pull it out whenever you want. And you stick it in this machine and it has a blade and it like comes down and grinds it into a powder and then massages it into ice cream.
Panda massages it?
Yes. Yeah, by the moonlight with gold implements. No. But it's just kind of cool because it is loud. It sounds like someone's running a
drill
vacuum that's breaking or something like that.
It's super loud.
Or a jet engine is taking off. But, I mean, it's not quite that loud, but for me, it's just I just really like to eat it as the ice cream because it does take a little bit longer to eat, and it's such a treat. Like it's creamy and it's delicious and it's like.
And there's something about eating like
Mm-hmm.
that will hit your satiety too. Instead of just drinking, you feel like you're drinking a drink. A lot of times you can drink it and then, oh, I'm too full.
Yeah.
And especially with the GLP-1, you got to be really careful. So it is a nice option to be able to have it as ice cream. You serve a little bit out as you're eating, check in with your stomach, check in with yourself. Am I full? Am I good? I can stop now.
Yeah.
And then you know, like put your Ninja Creamy, like make it flat, put it back in the freezer and just do it again later, you know, or another day.
And a lot of people who are on GLP-1s talk about the absence of food noise. And that's actually one thing I really like about Keto Chow as well, is it enables me to not have to make tough decisions about food when I'm just eating. A lot of times if we're traveling, we won't even bother with food. We'll just fast. It's like, yeah, that's one option. But if I'm at work, I don't want to leave to go get food. And sometimes I don't want to prepare food ahead of time. And Keto Chow gives me the option to just have something that's simple.
Yeah.
And go ahead.
I was just going to say what we touched on a little bit earlier was I do like the option of having it be a treat, because if I allow myself a treat, I don't feel like I'm not able to have things, and then I can focus on most nutrient dense things. So I can focus on having a steak, having meat, having those other things, and then my treat is also very protein dense.
Yeah.
And then I don't feel like I don't get to have what everybody else can have. Well, I can have a treat if I want. It's Keto Chow. I've classified it. This is a thing that can be a treat for me because that's what I decided it can be.
And we earlier touched on the fact that for some people that have a sensitivity to dairy protein, that adding some beef gelatin while they're mixing up Keto Chow will help with digestion. That's actually one of the reasons why we introduced what we call our core line. I think we talked about that last time we were on, but in a nutshell, core line is, instead of using milk protein isolate and instead of using an artificial sweetener, we're using beef protein isolate. So actually freeze-dried powdered beef protein. And we're using an extract, a very purified version of stevia, that just, even people who don't like stevia tend to like the stevia that's in the core.
Yeah.
And it just works really well. That we have 3 different flavors that are available, either sweetened with stevia or with no sweetener whatsoever, which is kind of interesting because some people are like, well, I want to use erythritol or I want to use allulose. Strangely enough, the unsweetened is surprisingly less terrible than you might expect.
Yeah, I actually have mixed it and not even noticed it didn't have sweetener. So
oh, wow.
I think it's funny. And that's the thing about when you're on a ketogenic diet, is your tastes tend to change.
Yeah.
And you have that natural flavor of things taste sweeter anyway, because you're not eating this over, what is the word I'm thinking of? Highly palatable foods, like things that are really enriched and really full of all the different flavors, and so sweet and salt just enrich things. So all the processed carbohydrates.
So I started falling in love with you guys because your electrolytes. You had the capsules, the liquid, the clean slate, because I was a carnivore, and you got your brand new bottles, the squeeze bottle, bring them with you, put it next to your bedstand in case you are a crampy person, whatever. I love to have that.
What kind of person are you? I'm a crampy person.
I am a crampy person.
But then I fell in love with you guys because there are several other brands that have a beef base, but they have sweetener in them. And I was experimenting with years of no sweetener in an attempt to control my food noise. And I liked that you guys actually had flavored beef base without sweetener. So I was able to stick to my plan of no sweetener. So what I did with your beef base was make pancakes. I was making chocolate pancakes, strawberry pancakes, where you mix it with egg. And I think a little bit of gelatin. I was mixing it with egg and a little bit of gelatin and no sweetener, and I got to have some flavor. And I got my protein, and I was also dairy free for much of for like 4 or 5 years. I was dairy free as well. So that's another thing where you guys filled a void for me, being a strict carnivore, but adding a little bit of flavor, the strawberry, the chocolate for the first time, but sticking to dairy free, sticking to sweetener free. And then, I know that there are competitors that have flavored beef protein, but it has sweetener, and I don't think it has the minerals, right?
No, those are, and they're not designed to be a complete meal. They're designed to be a protein supplement for getting additional protein into your diet. It's very difficult to do a full nutrition stack. It's expensive. Mm-hmm. It's an uphill battle. You're trying to explain to people why a complete nutrition stack is better than just a protein. And so most companies don't even bother with that. It's just like, you know what? People understand a protein shake. It's a little bit more difficult to explain a complete meal. Like, they're like, oh, so like Ensure? It's like, well, actually, you're not supposed to drink Ensure for more than like 1 or 2 meals a week. Or you're just supposed to use it to supplement some vitamins. And the ingredients are trash.
Yeah, they're not very good.
So, but those protein shakes that have the beef protein, I think that they're fine. They're a little hard to mix. We've got some ingredients that make it a little bit easier to mix, and I think ours tastes better. But we're actually using the same beef protein as most of the other beef protein powders out there. So
yeah. And do we have to mix those differently, or do they mix the same if we're going to make like a shake? And do they make ice cream too?
They do. So with our core flavors, you can mix it up with cold water in a shaker bottle. I would not recommend it. I would recommend using slightly warm water and using a blender, just because the
beef protein just doesn't mix as well.
Yeah. A bit into the weeds. Remember, I'm a computer guy, and so all of this was a bit foreign, and so we've had to learn as we're going around what they will do during the manufacturing process of the proteins. So like a milk protein isolate, you extract just the protein, you spray dry it, and during the process of doing that, you have a little tiny bit of sunflower oil. And it's actually not just the whole sunflower oil, it's a portion of it called lecithin. Anyway, it's super high in choline, like acetylcholine, the brain signaling stuff. But I digress. Anyway, you take a little bit of this stuff called lecithin, and while you're spray drying the protein powder, you coat it with that. And it makes the particles of the protein clump together a little bit, and it actually makes it slightly more
hydrophobic.
Yeah, well, it doesn't like water as much.
Yeah.
So it's hydrophobic. And so it's harder to mix with water. But here's the weird thing. It actually makes it easier to mix with water, because in opposite world, thank you means no thank you, and turn left to go right. Weird. Sorry, Cars reference. Yeah. But if you've ever had hot chocolate and you pour it into water and it forms those balls of dry powder that are wet on the outside and dry on the inside, the same sort of thing happens with protein powder, because it wants water so much, it'll turn into these beads that are dry on the inside. And you get small ones of those unless it's coated with just this tiny little bit of lecithin. They call it instantized. And our milk protein in the regular Keto Chow has that process done to it. It's instantized, so it mixes extremely well, because it slows down how quickly it absorbs the water. And so it's just a lot easier to mix. The beef protein, on the other hand, there's not an instantized version. It's raw, just beef protein. And so because of that, when you mix it with water, you're going to get clumps unless you're using warm water and unless you're using a blender. And so
or in a blender.
And I did this myself because I was testing a new batch of Keto Chow. Every single batch that we gets tested, actually, usually by me unless I'm on vacation, where we mix up an old batch, we mix up a new batch, we taste them, we make sure everything's fine, just to be absolutely sure that we're sending out the best stuff and that people don't get something bad. And when I was testing the chocolate core this last week, there were little tiny, because I just did it with heavy cream in a blender bottle, and so I got little beads. It's almost like little beads of gelatin.
Yeah, just
like
pretend it's boba.
Boba tea sort of thing. They're very small.
Little
They were very
chocolate.
tasty.
So did they change something?
Yeah, so it's just a little bit of clumping. The fix for it in this case is I was like, oh yeah, I didn't shake it up right. The chocolate you can usually get away with. The chocolate core, like it'll mix if you just do it right. But in this case, I didn't mix it properly right from the start. Like I don't know, maybe I got distracted for a couple seconds. The fix is actually really easy. You get a mug, you pour it into there, stick it in the microwave,
Heat it up,
and then you've got delicious hot chocolate,
mix.
and all the clumps just disappear. So that's what I did. But it was kind of funny doing the taste test, and I was like, oh man, I clumped it up.
Delicious chocolate bites.
But the core, yeah, it's good stuff.
You know, sometimes when we're on a keto and a carnivore diet, it can be very isolating. Oh, what is mom going to eat? Mom has to eat something different all the time. And it was so nice meeting you guys last year at a conference, and you guys had all these shakes and my kids tried them and they were like, buy us a ton. And I had to like buy you all out because the kids loved it so much. And just to like show some of the flavors here, you know, this is something that unites families, I think, because nobody's looking at apple pie and thinking, oh, that's keto. You know, they're just like, hey, that's a nice treat. You guys have so many amazing flavors.
Well, the experience that you're describing, we actually every year there's a gluten-free expo here in our hometown, and we go there and we sell Keto Chow to all of these families that have a kid who is gluten-free, because all of our stuff is gluten-free. I mean, it doesn't have flour, and it's always so funny. The exact thing that you're describing, where the kids try it and they're like, their eyes light up and they're like, "Whoa, this is good." Now, my lawyer will insist that I mention that Keto Chow is not indicated for use by nursing or pregnant mothers or children. Please consult with your physician before starting any dietary intervention. Okay, that's said. Our kids drink Keto Chow.
Our kids are adult size now, but they did drink it when they were little. What we did was we just would make one in a blender bottle and then just put it in a little cup.
Yeah, they'd have a cup and they could pour as much as they want.
If they wanted to have a little more, they could have a little more.
But seriously, are dinosaur-shaped chicken nuggets and macaroni and cheese, are those approved by a pediatrician for feeding to children? No, they're not, but we do it anyway. And this just happens to be designed for nutrition, but we're not going to go through the regulatory process of getting it approved for use by children. But yeah, having something as a treat that you can have and not be so isolated, it's actually really cool, especially when you're making treats like the fudge to bring along to something. That's awesome.
I really wish, like, if you guys ever decide to do that, it would be phenomenal, because I have family members and friends who have autistic children. They are being prescribed Pediasure, and I would so much prefer that they were drinking your Keto Chow.
Yeah, well, it's interesting talking about that. So for anyone who's in your audience that may not be familiar with a ketogenic diet, one of the first uses for a ketogenic diet back in the day was
1901.
Was before the advent of anticonvulsant treatments for refractory epilepsy. So kids that were having issues where something was going wrong inside of the neurochemical transmitters in their brain, and reducing their carbohydrate intake to an extreme amount, for some reason, helps with neurological conditions. And you see that also with some people, I should say, that are experiencing problems with Alzheimer's or dementia, that a lot of the drugs that are used for, even today, for people with epilepsy, are also used for
anxiety and depression.
yeah. And it's just really interesting that I'm kind of waffling a little bit here, but for people that are experiencing issues with neurological conditions, especially you're a caretaker for an elderly parent who is having trouble remembering stuff. Something that we actually had someone recommend this is using coconut oil, because a lot of people have seen they've seen successful outcomes just supplementing coconut oil. And so their solution was they were making Keto Chow shakes for their parent who was having issues with dementia and doing it with the coconut oil. And they saw a significant improvement in their cognition. And, it didn't cure the problem.
Mm-hmm.
And this is an anecdote, and Keto Chow is not whatever. It's not
certified for epilepsy
yeah,
and
well, and it's not intended to treat or diagnose any disease. All of the standard disclaimers, but you know, kids that are having issues with focus, that are having issues with other things like that, it could be that a lot of it is dietary related. That maybe reducing some of the carbohydrates, getting some really good nutrition into them. And also getting some good electrolytes isn't going to hurt as well. So I don't know. I think it could only do good for someone who is suffering from, I don't know, a problem with ADHD or something like that.
So you're making me think of, I was visiting, my grandma she's in hospice right now. And by the time this airs, she'll probably be gone. And she was having muscle spasms and they kept giving her muscle relaxers. And I was thinking because she has congestive heart and all these kidney issues, she was thinking she probably needs some electrolytes right now. Yeah. She couldn't eat any food. And I'm thinking, I wish I would have had just a little shake to put in her little lip. It would have been so nice for that. But I do want to talk on a brighter note about some of the ingredients, because my audience,
now that we've gotten through that,
well, there's so many great instances where good nutrition can really improve quality of life. So is there a difference between milk protein isolate, whey protein? Like, how did you guys pick your protein? That's where I want to start, and I want to go all the way to the end.
So we used to use a whey protein concentrate way back in the day. That's
10 years ago.
Intended.
The issue with whey protein is that it digests very quickly, which if you're a bodybuilder, that's great.
That's what you want, right?
Because that rapid digestion will trigger an insulin response, because digesting that protein will cause your blood sugar to go up. Well, we wanted to get something that did not digest quite as quickly, that helped with a feeling of fullness. Also, the whey protein, like the bulk whey protein market at the time, it was just nuts, because you make cheese and what you're left with is the whey, and then you dry that, and you can either concentrate down the protein, which still includes a lot of other stuff, or you can extract the protein. That's an isolate. So concentrate versus isolate. Isolates will be about 90% protein by weight, whereas a concentrate is anywhere from, it tops out at about 80%. And there's a lot more sugar in it and a lot of other stuff. But so we wanted something that digested slower and was just overall, it didn't have the weirdness that came along with being a secondary product of cheese making. Even though cheese is cool.
Yeah, we like cheese.
I love cheese.
It was less
I could go for some cheese right now.
Right? So that's why we went with that protein. It's also easier to digest. As far as switching to the beef protein, that was a direct response to people saying, hey, I want something that is dairy free. Still comes from cows. but it's dairy.
Something else talking about insulin response is because it doesn't digest so fast. When you're a diabetic, if you need to use insulin, your
You're the
rise
slow
is going to
acting.
be slower
Yeah.
than if you had a whey protein.
When did
And
you
that's
make this
something.
change?
We made the change from
It's
whey
been a long
protein
time.
to, okay, again, I'm a computer guy. All of the versions of Keto Chow
Maybe
have a
7 or
version
8 years
number on
ago.
them.
We could find it.
I believe the switch from whey protein concentrate to milk protein isolate was version 1.2,
Which
Oh,
is
which
it's a
was
long.
probably, it was about in
like
sometime in
2017.
2016.
Yeah.
So it's been quite a while. Ever since
Yeah.
you've known us, we've always used milk
Milk
protein
protein.
isolate just because, well, it's really high in protein. It also has a lot of human appropriate calcium in it. So for people that need more calcium, especially people who are struggling with osteoporosis, it's the best kind of calcium that you can get, and it just comes along for the ride. So that's why we've been
That's
using that.
great. So a lot of people get really upset when we see natural and artificial flavors. I'm wondering
Uh-huh.
if you guys have any say in that. Do you know how clean yours is? Could you give us any background on that?
You do it.
Okay, so first and foremost, I actually had a discussion in a comments on an ad where someone was like, I wish you had a version of this that didn't have natural flavor. I said, okay, we do have, and this is talking about our electrolytes specifically, but
Mm-hmm.
I said, we do have the one that doesn't have any flavoring. And they're like, well, I don't like the unflavored one.
Well,
I said,
you have to have flavor in it.
I said, I and I was not being combative. I was just like, can you help me understand? You don't like the unflavored. You want no natural flavors, and we'll get to why that's a hot button in a second. What exactly are you looking for? And their response was, I want you to use organic flavoring so it's easier on my gut, which is a lot to unpack. So I'm assuming what they meant was they want flavoring extracts from fruit that has been raised using organic farming techniques.
Right. Which I'm sure is difficult to source.
Well, number one, organic farming techniques, just to be blunt here, is not going to change how it's digested. That's the process of growing it. And I think if your goal is to have only ingredients that are farmed using regenerative farming techniques, that is something that you can look forward to.
Right.
That's not going to make it easier to digest, but okay. Here's the other problem: if you're talking about flavor extracts from fruit, there's a term for that, and it's called natural flavoring.
Yes.
Now, where this becomes a hot button issue. So, if we were to use organic flavors, legally according to the current US labeling requirements,
You
our
can't
packages would have to say natural
you
flavor.
can't even list it as organic natural flavors.
You
That's
could put a star next to it and
and then
say organic
have a
down
thing in the
below.
bottom. Like
Yeah.
it just makes it busier label.
But I digress. The alternative to natural flavoring is artificial flavoring. And the difference between a flavor, this is coming from food science, this is coming from a manufacturing standpoint. The difference between a flavor that was extracted from fruit or from other naturally occurring compounds and a flavor that was, you combine chemicals, which water is a chemical, by the way, together to make a flavoring. From a functional standpoint and from a nutritional standpoint and everything else, there's very, very little difference. And I recognize that for people that's a bold and a kind of a hot take. The the reason why the reason why natural flavors on on a ingredient list is such a big deal is that a lot of companies will take the legally allowed, hey, if you're using less than 2% of an ingredient, or you're using it as a processing agent in your flavor, or there's just a bunch of excuses.
Or you have maltodextrin that you use in the drying process, which is still less than 2%. You can put that under natural flavoring. They actually encourage it because it muddies up the label to have everything listed. It's just they don't love having a million things on there, and I understand that, but that's the reason why other companies do it, because it's encouraged, because it's easier to
it's legal.
Just to stick it into natural
legal.
flavors. We do have natural flavors in the flavoring that's only a very minute amount, and when we get it from the flavor house, it is a proprietary recipe, so they don't tell you exactly how much or what it is per thing for the tiny bit of flavoring. We can, however, go back and ask them, hey, do you have pineapple in this? Do we have this? Do we have this? Which most of the flavors, we have asked all of those questions. So if you ever have a question about what's in the natural flavoring, we can say, oh, we've got a list of all those things.
Yeah.
In this specific flavor, yes, there is cinnamon. In this specific flavor, yes, there is actual pineapple extract. We have all of that information that's not on the label because it's in the natural flavors. But if there is anything that you are sensitive to, please reach out to our customer service. We can research it and find out if the natural flavor may have a very minute amount of that specific thing in the proprietary recipe for just the flavoring.
A lot of people will hear that answer and they'll be like, so you're just dodging the question. It's like, well, here's the thing. If you extract the actual natural flavor from a strawberry, it will have a name to that flavor, and it's not going to be on the nutrition on the things. It's this big, long,
big scientific chemical name.
Actually, I think I can find it. Well, I'm not going to. It is about 30 letters long, and it says methyl and tetra and duo and all these other things. It's the name of the flavor.
Yeah.
The problem is it's not actually relevant to people. People don't understand what that means. Even if you're just taking strawberry juice, technically it's those names.
It has a scientific name, and that's, technically what they're asking for, but they don't really know what that is.
Yeah. And so, yeah.
I have another question. And some of your old packaging, did you have as the last ingredient listed, was it like a seed oil? Was there a seed oil?
If you look at the tomato, tomato soup,
pull that up.
It probably lists that it has
sunflower lettuce
and
oil.
It may even say that it has in the ingredients. It may say that it has canola oil. There's a reason for that.
That's what I was looking for. There was a canola oil controversy. Could you please settle it for us?
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and so we're back to the natural flavor.
Which we could have hidden the canola oil in the natural flavors.
Yeah.
But because we feel strongly about making sure everybody knows what's in it, we didn't. And the canola oil is in the machinery.
The lubrication
that
for the machinery.
The thing. If possible that there was ever a droplet or anything to go in, it has to be edible. It's illegal to mix things
you can't use like
oil.
I don't know, diesel fuel for lubricating the food machinery.
The food machinery has canola oil in it. So honestly, we're shooting ourselves in the foot by having it on the label because everybody freaks out about it. But
why does this have canola oil?
What if
it doesn't?
A tiny bit of the oil gets into the product? What if?
Yeah.
And they're actually allergic to it. We care about them being able to have the choice to, if there's this in here, I will not eat this thing.
And that's why natural flavor is such a hot button topic, because so many companies, and it is encouraged and legal according to current labeling standards, to just put all of that under natural flavors. You don't have to declare all the stuff that's in there. You can just, what is it? It's part of our flavor. What's in it? I'm not going to tell you. And even though there's stuff that people don't want to have. And frankly, if you're putting stuff in there that people don't want to have, maybe you should think about that. But it's better to divulge it. And that's why it's on the panel. That's why we list acacia gum on our powdered electrolytes, because that's what we use instead of maltodextrin. We have had instances in the past where we've requested a flavor from the company that makes the flavor from us, and we get it back and we taste it and we're like, hey, yeah, this is great. And they're like, okay. And then we get the information about it. We're like, guys, we said you can't use maltodextrin.
Do it again. We're not doing that.
So what you're proving to me is I don't trust everybody's natural flavors, but I really trust your guys's, because you are an open book. You have a YouTube channel. You were able to ask your customer. You have amazing customer service. You're listing things on the label that aren't even necessarily an ingredient in there, but might be part of the machinery or part of the processing. But what I don't get when people start going up in arms is when you look at the label, there's no fat in here. So there's less than 1 gram of fat. So it's not a fat source. You're adding your own fat. One other thing people get their arms up in a bunch about is sucralose. Could you tell me why you picked that? And just before we even say, I would say, I am a fan. It's something that doesn't upset my stomach. It has a very good taste, and you guys go ahead and tell the rest.
You want to tackle that? No? Okay. Now, before we get too far, I understand why people are up in arms, and about the natural flavors, if people are having issues with sensitivities, you know this better than I do, you have to be a proponent and an advocate for your own health, and you have to defend that.
Which we encourage, for sure.
And when your friends are like, oh, you should just have the sweet roll, I made it for you. You're like, no, I am a... You don't give vodka. Yeah, you don't give vodka to someone who is recovering from alcoholism, okay? It's the same sort of thing. Stop pushing on me. Anyway, I digress. As far as sucralose goes, the reason why we went with that, the short version is it tastes the best, and the science that says that it's bad for you seems to indicate that the issue is either with, number one, most sucralose has maltodextrin in it. Like whenever you see Splenda, whenever you see Measure Like Sugar,
unless it's the liquid, like you have the liquid version.
So the packets of sucralose of Splenda that you would, you're at the coffee shop and you tear open the yellow packet. Yeah, it doesn't have sugar in it, but it has a gram of maltodextrin. It might as well be sugar.
Yeah.
If you're a diabetic, it may not raise your blood sugar as quickly, but it's still going to impact it. The actual sucralose that's in that packet is, for every 1 gram, there is 12 milligrams of sucralose. And to put that into perspective, you would have a difficult time. It's a couple of bits of dust.
Yeah, it's
is what we're
really
talking
difficult
about.
to measure.
Which is why the liquid one that you have there, the water acts as a carrier, so it's easier to measure. Most of that is just water. There is very, very little sucralose in there. But there are some people who actually, it's particularly women, that sucralose gives them a headache. And we do have options that don't use sucralose. There are, sorry, I got away from myself. There are a lot of studies that indicate that some of the problems that people are potentially seeing with sucralose are not necessarily the sucralose, but sweetener in general. It used to be thought that our only sensors on our body for sweet taste were in our mouth. Turns out your gut can register sweet. It's very interesting, the reaction that it has. There are studies that indicate that there are changes in gut bacteria composition when people use sucralose. Again, the sucralose that they're talking about is sucralose mixed with maltodextrin.
And it's also at such high doses, no one would actually ever be taking that much.
Yeah, the doses that we're talking about would be the equivalent of, I think it was 67 meals of Keto Chow per day.
Which no one could physically eat.
It's a lot. Like, it's really a lot. Now, I don't want to downplay people's concerns. There are some interesting, like I said, there are some interesting studies that show that sucralose, or in this case, any other thing that is sweet, can cause changes to the way your body metabolizes things. And for those kind of people, again, we have options that are available. The thing that I really like about sucralose is that the amounts that we're talking about, again, are extremely small. And so the exposure is also extremely small. And the thing that it's replacing seems to cause more detrimental effects than the sucralose does. So it seems like it's a good trade. One thing I'd really love to do is use allulose instead. Allulose, there's a lot of you don't like it. Hey, see, and that's again.
I got a part, but this is where people have to find the right sweetener for them.
Yep. There's a lot of cool stuff about allulose, or erythritol. The problem is it has a lot of mass to it.
Yeah.
Like our packets would have to either be twice as large, or we'd have to put half as much
I
of
can
the
see
stuff.
it now. GLP-1 replacement meal.
Yeah, right?
Something like that.
And then people would be even more upset that it costs so much, because now they're getting half of the stuff. Shrinkflation. But yeah, I personally am a big fan of sucralose. I also really like the stevia that we're using in the core, and that we're using in the salty. The sucralose has the best flavor of all of the other things that we've tested. The stevia that we're using actually isn't bad. We do have a version of Keto Chow that uses monk fruit as a sweetener. It's called natural strawberry. It does not sell as well as our regular strawberry. When people put it head to head with the regular strawberry, it's not as good, just straight up. That people prefer the regular strawberry,
because they like the sucralose better.
They like the flavor.
So that makes sense. Something else I wanted to touch about the core flavors, we do have unsweetened core.
Yeah.
We actually have on our blog, there's a page that has, if you would like to have it to be as sweet as our regular flavor, this is how much of each different sweetener you can use. And so you can put erythritol in it. You could put allulose in it. You could put whatever in it.
You could put your liquid sucralose in it if you wanted to.
And then just make it the way you want it to be made. And what we found is typically the people who that would be marketed for, they don't want to shake anyway.
That is also true.
Which is fine. I don't care. We don't care if you don't want to shake. It's just a tool. It's a tool you can use if you would like to use it. And that's why we made it.
Yeah, I love that you're hitting the monk fruit audience, the stevia, but the good stevia audience, and people who are okay with sucralose. I mean, you're hitting a lot of audiences here. You got the dairy-free, the sweetener-free,
Yeah.
You guys have something for everyone, and it's really hard to find those things. I don't know anybody else that has flavored beef unsweetened powder with minerals.
We try to do things that people ask for. You can't be everything to everyone, or else you'll be nothing to anyone. And we kind of see that to our own detriment, in that we have a lot of flavors. And some of them are kind of off the wall. Some of them we do just because
it's fun.
We wanted to. There are a lot of
seasonal. It's like, what's the max?
Yeah. Well, and we do,
you know how many people are jealous. I mean, and these are good for at least 5 years, right?
Yes. Yeah. So the individual packets, like, I think I have one here that it probably actually might be.
I love
5 of 2023.
Yeah. Old guy.
But anyway, we can't do every flavor everybody has ever wanted. Not every flavor is going to be a success, but some of them we've done just because we wanted to.
This one was so good. You could have just
ever get this
like ice cream. It was just so good. I can't even believe I found a package left. If my kids knew this was here.
Did you ever get to try the red licorice?
No,
we also did a black.
I actually might have one of those, and it might be sitting here because of fear.
Yeah. Well, And again, they're sold out at this point. We've introduced a lot of flavors that have come and gone. Some were like, hey, that was a success. Let's bring it back. The coconut cream pie came out earlier this year.
It's already out of stock.
I think it's sold well enough that
Yeah.
we might be bringing it back.
Yes.
I don't know. We haven't done the analysis on it yet. But
This
other
one has
things
to
like
come back.
that one is not coming back.
Nope, it's over.
It did not
What?
sell well enough. I know. It was good. That
This
was
is what I add to Courtney
the banana
Luna's bread. And
Yep.
and it legit tastes like banana bread. It's so well. I'm glad I hit maximum order on that one.
Now, what you can do is you can combine flavors together. For instance, we have a snickerdoodle flavor.
And we have a banana.
And if you mix two of them together and then split it in half, it's not far off. Miriam's favorite of all time.
Yeah, is I mix chocolate toffee and chocolate peanut butter together, and it tastes like Butterfingers to me.
It's really good. The chocolate peanut butter is nuts. Anyway, so yeah, we do try to give people stuff that they would like. Again, sometimes we're spreading ourselves a little bit thin, but we like to have that fun thing for our customers. We just recently introduced a blackberry flavor, which is really good.
Yeah, you guys, thank you for bringing joy back into my life. Thank you for keeping me hydrated. Thank you for keeping my protein up when I was titrating and trying to find the right spot, and I overdid it a little bit, and I still wanted to get my protein in because muscle is wealth. Muscle is health. And so we got to keep up on our protein and also giving me my bioavailable minerals. And so I really appreciate everything you guys are doing. If anybody is interested in giving these products a try, there is a link down below for 10% off your order. I highly suggest you guys still have the starter pack.
Yeah, well, so what we have now, yeah, so first time ordering people, we actually have a new thing where you can put 6 flavors of whatever flavors you like.
Wow.
Into a starter thing. And if you've never purchased from us before and you agree that in 2 weeks you'll get a subscription that you build, so you build a starter package,
you get 50% off that.
50% off. And then while you're there, you say,
start.
okay, and in 2 weeks I want you to send me this mixture of flavors. Then you'll get the 50% off. And the cool thing is we want to be the company that we would buy from. And so it's set up so that, yes, you're agreeing to a subscription, but if during that 2-week period you decide, you know what?
You don't want it.
It's not for me.
Just cancel it.
You can cancel it.
No
Or you decide you get that first packet and you go, whoa.
I really like the chocolate.
You can
I
force
would
it to go
rather
right
change all of the subscription to chocolate.
Our chocolate is
then
really
that's
good.
fine.
You guys have
So
nailed
you can
chocolate on all
change it,
realms.
whatever you want.
Yeah, mix it up
chocolate's
hot.
good.
And
Drink it out of a
like
mug.
no breakouts, there's no like oxalate dumping going on, at least not for me. And I have your chocolate electrolytes every single day.
Yeah, but the starter subscription for people that are interested, that is by far
That's the cheapest
best way
option.
to try out Keto Chow. See if it's everything that we say it is.
Yep.
We think that once you taste it,
Give it a try.
you're going to be like, you got to be kidding.
Yep, and try it different ways. Try it in the recipes. Put it in the bread. Make it with like an egg pudding, like the Maria Emmerich boiled egg pudding or scrambled egg pudding. Make yourself a shake and drink half of it. Whatever you want to, just play with it. Try it. Figure out the way. It can be a tool that you can use if you would like.
Yep.
Yeah, the only thing here is before GLP-1, I would see all your flavors and I would just like get that dopamine hit from hitting submit. And I don't get that as much these days. It really does fill a void of getting the protein in, but also getting to enjoy life again. Because I was convinced that the only way I was ever going to beat obesity is if I took all joy out of eating. And that's just, I found it doesn't have to be that way. And so I really appreciate that you guys combined nourishing ourselves with joy.
Nice.
So thank you guys for coming on 2 different times. I really appreciate it. If anybody wants to check them out, they have a YouTube channel. They have a website, which is going to be down below. Is there anywhere else they can catch you on Instagram? Facebook?
Yeah, just at Keto Chow. You're going to find us everywhere.
Yep.
So
we're all over the place.
Yep.
Well, I have loved having you guys. Thank you guys so much. Everybody who has watched this, thank you so much for tuning in. Please like, subscribe, and share. Goodbye.
Okay, bye.
Bye.